Hi everyone, welcome to another video. As you can see, I have my base on. I also set my camera too low, so I'll have to fix that later. So I'm kind of slouching over right now, which is great for my posture, but I wanted to just do a quick and, well, kind of quick, probably not quick at all, a simple kind of like fall look. And by simple, I don't mean light and like natural. By simple, I just mean like structurally speaking, it's not going to be anything terribly graphic or like complicated. I thought the perfect shade for the purpose is a palette that actually was sent to me by a subscriber. It was a palette that they no longer really had a use for, and so this is the Unearthly Cosmetics Leather and Lace. Look how long it took me to finally actually get around to using this on camera. Like, I should be ashamed of myself. I'm mostly going to be using the mattes from this. The shimmers seem kind of so I'm probably not going to use the shimmers because I am more interested in using the shimmers in my newest babies, my Urban Decay Moondust palette, which here you can see the shades. I used Emo Cowboy in a previous video. I want to use shades from this today. This palette I don't actually think is sold by Unearthly Cosmetics anymore. Last I checked, the SKU is on the website, but it's sold out, and I don't know if it's ever going to be brought back. I did buy 2 palettes from the Unearthly Cosmetics Halloween sale because you could stack an affiliate code with a 20% off discount, so you got about a 27% discount. Of course, some of that got eaten back by the cost of shipping because they don't do free shipping, which is completely fine, but it's still a discount either way. So I did finally I got the Resurgence palette, and I did decide to take a little bit of a risk, and I also placed a pre-order for the Devour palette, which has been catching my eye for quite some time. So I will be very critical of them, especially Devour, because that's a very high price tag for a palette. And last I checked, the shimmer shades weren't necessarily super shifty. Like, there were some that were like iridescent, but like, you know, we'll see. And Resurgence was $45 full price, which is a little bit more reasonable slightly, but I recall the days where Menagerie Cosmetics 12-pan palettes were like under $40. Like, I remember those days used to be a thing. So, and I'm gonna mostly just use my synthetic brushes today. Now, I wanted to put out a quick disclaimer that Rephr is having their kind of Black Friday sale as a month-long promo where their newest shipment of brushes are all discounted because they were able to get a new lowered rate with the manufacturer, and they decided to go ahead and pass along some of the savings to the customer base, which is great. So I personally am hoping to have the funds to buy the mini and maxi eye sets, because especially the mini one is my top priority, because you guys know we got limited real estate up in here. I have said before that I really like Rephr as a good starting point. Like, if you've never had Japanese made makeup brushes before, you've never had natural hair makeup brushes before, so not only do you not know anything about how they feel or how they handle eyeshadow, but you don't know anything about how to maintain them, you don't know anything about how to clean them. Rephr is a great starting point, especially with November's prices. If you've never tried natural hair brushes before and you're interested, but you've always been worried that you'll buy it and then ruin it, which is why I didn't buy Japanese brushes for a long time, I think Rephr is a great place to get started. Their brushes are not necessarily the softest on the market, and they don't necessarily work as the best Japanese brushes I've ever used. Currently for me, that crown actually goes to Hakuhodo. I really love Hakuhodo's brushes, and the range is staggering. You can handle Rephr brushes just about with as much abuse as a synthetic brush can handle. I've never really had problems. I do, however, have to say the one indisputable thing you must do with your natural hair brushes: brush guards after you wash them. If you can manage to, you should always have brush guards around your natural hair brushes at all times. That is the one thing. It doesn't matter what brand you're using. Even a nice synthetic like this BK Beauty benefits from brush guards, and these are so cheap. You can get them a dime a dozen. I got mine off Amazon because then they arrive the next day, blah 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 blah. Rephr also sells a soap. I use that soap to wash my brushes every single time I wash my brushes. It is just so convenient to have it as a bar soap. I just keep it in a little container by the sink. I can just use it to wash my brushes. It's so much simpler than using liquids, which I run through really quickly. I just find my Rephr brushes have held up to a lot of abuse. And I have brushes made of squirrel hair that I have to treat like little fairies, little delicate little fairies. Like, those kinds of brushes, they even will say on the website, you should wash them as infrequently as possible because the brushes are so delicate, but they are so soft. Their eye brush shapes, I will also say, are just about as unique as Hakuhodo's because they really tend to release brushes based on what people want and what people give feedback to. I think their face brushes are just okay. Again, I just treat them more as a starting point to get into seeing if you want natural hair brushes, if they're right for you, if you can maintain them. My personal favorite face Japanese natural hair brushes are currently from Hakuhodo, but my face brush collection is very small outside of Refer just because of the fact that they are way more expensive. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I don't have any affiliated codes with Refer. I have occasionally received brushes from them, which they are very generous and they are very receptive to feedback, but I don't personally have a code or anything. This isn't sponsored. And I don't like even have an affiliate link or anything. I just wanted to put that out there because I do think they are worth buying from, and particularly in circumstances like this when they're running price discounts is really the best time to get it. Just you know, my 2 cents. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with this shade here, which is like the most generic fall shade ever, and then I'm going to go into this dark shade down here, and if I want to integrate the green somewhere, I'll figure out a place to put it. This shade is very powdery, and I do recognize that this is probably not going to be super close to Unearthly's current formula, so I'm not going to pass too many judgments on the brand as a whole based on this. I just wanted to use this just to kind of start getting a feel for Unearthly's formula. The only other palette I've used from them is Fall Magic, the OG Fall Magic, which is no longer available. I don't think my shipment's going to arrive until the end of November, which is when Devour says it'll ship, because I'm pretty sure it's going to ship like all together, which is totally fine. But I just kind of wanted to start familiarizing myself with their eyeshadows for like what they've done in the past. I did use the Suku eye primer today. So far you can see it's applying nice and smoothly but blending out well. I'm still not used to the idea of eyeshadow kind of catching in all of my wrinkles, so it just looks so weird to me. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and take a smaller brush and start stacking. I just realized they're shade names, but because of the fact that the background has this weird kind of glitch look to it and the text is in white, I can't read half of them. I don't like when that happens, but this bottom dark eggplant shade I think is called Aubergine. And the one I used first I think is called Redwood. Aubergine feels a little bit more drier and harder pressed. Okay, so I was applying my eyeshadow mostly in silence because I did recently put a litter robot up here, and the cats really like to make sure they use it as often as possible when I'm filming and only when I'm filming because they know. And I mean, it's fine. Cats will be cats, right? But as you can see, I'm not using like a flat dense brush, but I'm not really getting total opacity out of this either, and it did feel drier and harder pressed in the pan, so less fallout, less kickback, and it blends out fine, but definitely I feel like I'm getting thinner layers. But the usability is fine, and it's hard to obviously gauge how much of the formula in this palette is due to like how they used to formulate the shadows versus age. Like, that's hard to suss out. You may pick up on Gates during this video. If he walks by, then you'll probably hear him. And yes, he currently is way more congested than normal. The weather suddenly went from being like 89 to like 40, and then it started raining. And I think it caused poor Gates's congestion to become like so much worse than normal. I feel so bad for him because he is literally having the most miserable time right now. He's so stuffy. Like, you know those people who get really bad pollen allergies and they just suffer every year, and you just feel so bad for them? I do have a vet appointment for him booked tomorrow though, so don't worry. I will make sure that he gets looked at because it's impacting his sense of smell and it's making his appetite bottom out, which is not acceptable. So we'll fix him up, but just in case he passes by and you hear just this awful snorting and sniffing, he don't feel so good. Alright, I'm gonna put the green up here. I think it'll just be a fun little touch. Yeah, some of the shades in this palette feel a little bit dry, and I wonder if that's more due to the age of the palette than anything else. That being said, I'm not really having any issues with like the actual application. You can see that it's applying fine. And this is that really nice, like, super, like, pukey shade of green, too, which is always great. Alright, so I didn't end up blowing it out quite as far, like specifically vertically. I ended up keeping it pretty like narrow as opposed to going all the way up to my eyebrow like I usually do, but I don't know, I kind of like it, so I may just roll with it. I do want to see if I can make it a little bit darker. I don't want to have to use the matte black in here. Yeah, it seems like it just needs a very dense brush. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take a clean brush, and the edges here do need to be touched up. There we go, that's better. Okay, yeah, I think that looks a lot better now. Look who says hello, hello. She grows more and more circular by the day. Oh, I know, you're embarrassed. Are you embarrassed? Circle. Oh no, you're embarrassed. It's funny because she never got long and noodly. She never went through that. She just immediately went straight to like round. I don't understand her growth patterns. I don't mind them at all. I'm not complaining, but she's really intent on staying as small as possible. Okay, so I had also brought out the Biba palette, which is probably also criminally underused like everything is. And I had brought it out just in case I like kind of thought, oh, maybe I need like a lighter matte. So I'm going to use the shade Freckle up here. Like, if this was going to be an all matte look, I definitely would be wanting the blend to look absolutely flawless. But even though I'm going in with shimmer, the idea of that like seamless, smoky, matte, warm, rich toned fall look is still like super crisp in my mind. However, I do have some bumps here. Okay, actually I really like how Freckle was able to fill that space. And I'm just using my Blend Bunny brushes for the most of this because they're the only brushes left that are clean. But as you can see, Blend Bunny brushes are really good too, so yeah, I like that. Okay, so for the lower lash line, I actually need to start considering what I'm going to do. And thankfully, Leather and Lace does come with a whole eggplant row, so I'm gonna go into Mahogany over here so that I kind of step up and I'm not gonna make my lower lash line too dark too quickly. And so I'm just going to... I think I have other product on this brush, so they're kind of mixing together, but I don't hate the result. Yeah, actually that accidentally ends up looking really good, so I'm not gonna complain. Jackson! What do you want? It's a cat evening tonight, apparently. Jackson is my Velcro cat. He also says hi. He likes it when I hold him as a baby, so... and then I have to like bounce him like a baby. That's kind of what I'm going for. And then I'm going to take Whiskey, that shade between the shimmer and redwood. Oh man, Melody's using the litter box again. Oh no, it's not Melody, it's Nala. Okay, yeah, I like where this is headed. I think I like this. I'm gonna leave this here and I'm going to start working on the shimmers now. Okay, so this is the Moondust palette in the shade Space Rider. So I got both versions, so this is gonna be the more neutral leaning version. But here's what they look like. You know what? I'm gonna use, I lied. I'm gonna use this Cowgirl Rider shade here in gold. And if I want to use anything in here, I think I'll go for Star Cowgirl and the other one as like my inner corner highlight. But I think just a good old-fashioned gold will be what is a good accent for this palette. And I've used it with finger and brush. Not all of the shades yet, of course, but so far I think these are great. I think these ended up selling out during the Sephora sale, which doesn't really surprise me at all. But I got them both on Ulta because there was a points multiplier running around. So I usually, if I can, I prefer to buy things on Ulta because their points program is just superior. I also checked and Mini Xenon sold out. Okay, so as I was saying before Nala decided it was a good time to pee, I am using Star Cowgirl on the inner corners. Really, really pretty. It's like a pale white gold, but there are pink reflex scattered inside of it. It is such a pretty, unique shade. Really, really pretty. I think this is definitely going to be one of kind of the best releases from Urban Decay just recently. I do want to do a video using Naked Metal Mania because I did end up getting it using a coupon, and it's like also weirdly good. Like, is Urban Decay actually going to start getting their stuff together? I use the gold a little bit more loosely. I'm going to go in with my finger now. I kind of want to just dab on like one more layer just for good measure, just for good luck, you know? So I'm just going to take such a thin layer with my finger and just add a little bit extra because I'm a sucker for sparkle. But I'm not going all the way down to my eyelid because I do want to let that blending that I worked so hard to achieve show through. And the gold is going to be what I put on the middle, not the inner corner one. That way it's a little bit less bright, but I still get the sparkle that I want to put there. The only thing that I've noticed with the Moondust shadows is that they sometimes are a little bit prone to falling out during the day, but it's really not too bad. Like, you know, it's very obviously easily forgiven for me because I just love sparkly shadows and I don't really care if it falls out on my face. But if you have concerns about wear time, just use something stickier underneath and you should be good. Gates, you sound awful. I'm so sorry. And no, I'm not gonna ever pick up Gates and show him to the camera. He does not like being handled. I don't pick him up unless I have to. Everyone else is pretty tolerant of my shenanigans, but Gates is a lot more shy. So this is my eyes right now. I love it. It ended up actually being a little bit less intense than I expected, so like, wow, I actually did do something a little simpler for once. But I still love it nonetheless. Now, I still don't have false lash glue. I'm filming this on Wednesday night and I still haven't gotten false lash glue yet. It's the point now where I'm just gonna wait for my Ulta order to arrive because when I placed my Diamond Day order, I threw lash glue in, and I think I'm at the point where I'm just gonna wait for the box to get here because clearly I'm never gonna remember to actually drag my butt all the way to Ulta. So I'm gonna do my lashes off camera by applying copious amounts of mascara, and then I'll be back to apply some color products to the rest of my face, a lip, and we'll see if we can pull together this really comfy, I like fall kind of look. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I put on a lot of mascara. I do have to use a waterproof mascara first as a base, and then I go over it with something a little bit more volumizing. So I use the MAC Stack Mascara today on my upper and lower lashes just to give my lashes as much body as possible. As you can see, my lashes are looking a little bit more symmetrical today because they have the bald patches did finally grow back. I don't know why my lashes are so uneven. So anyways, as you can tell, my lashes are still barely visible, but at least they're there. For blush, I kind of wanted to go into my liquid blushes or my cream blushes just because I haven't used them in a little bit of a while. I'm going to use the Neo Nude Color Balm in the shade 45. I have mentioned before that these are like really good and I don't know why more people aren't talking about them either. But also they're like really hard to get a hold of. And then other like Armani's own website, it's like sometimes they have them and then sometimes they don't. And the cool brown shade that I've been wanting for months, I've never really seen it come back. They're simultaneously really underrated, but they're also nearly impossible to actually find for sale. I genuinely have no clue what's going on with this product. So I have 3 shades and the only shade that I want left at this point is cool brown, and it is the shade that of course is I haven't seen it in stock anywhere, so if it ever comes back in stock, I'll buy it. It's to the point where if it comes back in stock full price, I will still buy it because I want it that badly. This is a little bit too orange for this look, so I'm just going to use a nice sheer layer today. As you can see, it builds up really well. I almost looked like I had applied too much, but then it blends out super easily. And I'm just using a really wide brush, totally not suited for this product at all, especially because the brush head is so large, and it actually is the longest lasting eyeshadow I've ever used, so you know, there's that too. Also, I don't know why, but every single time I've been putting on foundation this week, I will suddenly see a line. Every single time, and it's always in the exact same spot. I wonder if I have like an invisible healing cat scratch on my face that maybe I just didn't notice until foundation sits on top of it. So I'm just going to use the side of the brush to really get it up against my eyeshadow, which is where I like to put it. I really don't understand how this product is. They could not have made this product harder to get a hold of if they tried. Such a good product. This is one high-end luxury item I could totally and comfortably recommend to just about everyone who likes cream products, and it's the one thing that I don't really know how you get your hands on if you wanted it, which is just a shame. Now, Peripera did release some new blush shades in their Yakgwa collection, which is based off of a snack of some kind, a Korean snack that I've never had. And I do want to get them, and I considered getting the Yakgwa palette as well, but I don't know if that's something I should be considering because my backlog is so bad. It's been calling out to me, but one of the blush shades in the collection is a very cool beige shade, which is really interesting to me that is kind of like a blush color. So in honor of the fact that I want it but don't have it yet, I'm going to use the Blush Pop in Nude Pop here. Warmer than what I was going for, but as you can see by my usage on it, I do frequently use it for the purpose of blending out my other blushes if I don't want to use something too mattifying. My other preferred blending out blushes of choice are all either from Flower & Nose or Peripera, and those are all very, very matte, and sometimes I just don't want to look like that, so Nude Pop today. Nude Pop is like the beige blush before beige blush was trending. Like, these cheek pops honestly are so underrated. Clinique usually does 30% off sales pretty frequently during holiday season. If you have not tried a cheek pop yet and you want something a little bit more buildable and something that you cannot overdo, you really should give these little suckers a try. So I'm just going to gently sweep this all over, kind of modulate the shade a little bit, make it a little bit less orange, and you can see it just still preserves the glow. So I know people have mentioned, oh, are you like cool toned, or are you warm toned, or are you neutral? Like, do you know what color you are? And I'm like, I don't know what color I am. I would like to know. But ultimately, nothing really for me quite beats the cozy, comfy comfort zone of a warm fall look. And I'm talking rich, warm fall look, not just like a warm toned brown. I'm talking like oranges, really intense, burnt red, brick browns, things like that. Like, this is like, these are just my comfort zone. Like, Natasha Denona Bronze is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time, and I literally only use it in the fall every single year. It's like just kind of part of the ritual at this point, you know? I love how this is turning out. Now, I think I do need some eyeliner. I like totally forgot. I have Alkaline from Urban Decay. I don't know if this is available anymore. And if that doesn't work, then I do have the Soft Mute pencil liner from 3CE I can always use over top of that. My only fear is that this might be too close in shade. Okay, so I think it's a little bit too much similar to the eyeshadow shade. It's not really standing out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on the other eye, but I'm gonna go over it with my Soft Mute pencil liner. I also don't actually know how old this is. I didn't pay for it. It was like it like came with something, so it must be really old. So I definitely am going to sharpen that down and remove the dry top. Unless the whole thing's dried out, in which case I'll have to toss it, but hopefully that's not the case. I'm gonna go ahead now and use my Soft Mute pencil liner. This is the shade Mildly Black. I do love this color. It is such a nuanced color. These kinds of shades right now are super trendy in Korea, but this formula I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. It's a little bit dry and tuggy, but you see how I just stacked that on top of Alkaline and it just darkened it enough that now I think it works. Yeah, my only complaint about the 3CE formula is just that it tugs a little bit on, it's not super soft. And then I'm going to use this also, just gonna go ahead and pop this on the inner corner. Ooh, I also have a tilt table test this Friday, so by the time this video goes up, I will have already been through that ordeal. And I have heard literally nothing but the most unpleasant stuff about it ever. So to say that I'm like slightly worried about it is probably a vast understatement. When I was doing this look, the first highlighter that I kind of thought of was from Pat McGrath, the Incandescent Gold shade from the Bridgerton collab. Here you go. I have used this on camera before a couple times at this point. It is a very, very beautiful highlighter. I don't know if you can get it anymore, but I'm gonna use it anyways. And as usual, I do tend to find that highlighter for me on my skin tends to look better with a finger. I feel like the pigment just distributes and blends out more smoothly if I use my finger. I'm gonna avoid the tip of my nose. I think my nose is getting oily all on its own. I evicted the Tom Ford highlighters from my cart before the Sephora sale, and then I saw Teresa Is Dead swatch and use them, and I was like, I really regret doing that. And so now they're back in my cart. So the last thing is my lipstick. So I'm just gonna quickly use some kind of lip liner. I'm worried this might be too orange, but I'm going to use the shade 02 from the HOLIKA Butter Blur tint. These are super, super underrated. I would say these are almost as good as the Blur Fudge tints. They are very pigmented, very comfortable. They are thicker and even more whipped. So it kind of, I think, boils down to personal preference as well as color range. But the OG range of the Butter Blur tints were all like released kind of alongside some kind of like peanut-ish collection. So they're all super, super, super warm and they are delicious. I mean, I wish I had every single shade. Is it not just beautiful? Is this shade just not beautiful? And the formula is so nice. It kind of got overshadowed by things like Romande, but honestly, it deserves to be known about, and it's also really, really cheap. The only thing is the applicator is not quite as elegant. Romande definitely has us spoiled in the applicator department, but my lips are a little bit chapped today. I forgot to put on a lip mask last night. I did put on a lip balm for this video, but you can see that even on dry, my lips are dry. You can definitely tell. Even on my dry lips, this still looks really pretty. It's not emphasizing any lines. My other favorite fall shade is Romande Zero Velvet Tint in Rusk Rusk. This is another really great one. Matcha. No! No! What are you doing? Yeah, no. No, you cannot. You cannot do things. You can see I literally removed my bangs because my scissors went too high and started cutting, and before I knew it, the destruction was done. But that's okay because this is why I carry clip-on bangs. Okay, so I had a whole summary of the products. I was talking about all the products I use and everything, and then literally right as I was going to press the stop button to finish off the recording, the camera crashed and rebooted, and I was like, talk about good timing. I love how this look turned out. My complexion is not super great, and I think I still need to fiddle around with this eye primer more because I feel like I'm already starting to see some product pooling around in my wrinkles. Either that or I just am not used to the idea that I have wrinkles now, and I'm just not used to what product looks like in them. So it's a whole thing. I'll have to figure that out for myself. But in the meantime, I did have a good experience with the Unearthly mattes just in terms of using. In terms of wear time, obviously that remains to be seen. I do really like these Moondust palettes. The only problem I have is they do kind of... Jackson! Oh. Why is tonight just a disaster? He wants to go sit on a bed that's on my desk, and he just like sent so much stuff crashing down onto the floor in the process of jumping onto my desk because he doesn't know math. Jackson, you're a cat. As I was saying, my only problem with these is they're kind of dependent on having a more tackier base laid down, because otherwise I did notice that they would do things like come off onto my lash curler and I'd have to reapply. I have noticed that they can have a little bit of fallout throughout the day, but if you have a sticky enough eye base, or if you just go in with like a glitter primer, then definitely these will stay put. And honestly, they stay put a respectable amount anyways for being what they are, but I definitely have noticed that they sometimes don't stay put super well. But because the finish is so pretty, I am more than happy to overlook those cons. I think these both were almost $40 a piece, which for 4 shades, that is a lot. But at the same time, when you consider the price of their Moondust shadows individually, it's also not a lot. So exercise your best judgment, but I like both of these and I do feel comfortable recommending them to some extent, so that's up to you. Everything else that I used, definitely not new. I just was using products I like. So my complexion is so dry, my under eyes are kind of crackling. I need to get into the winter mode and start really readjusting my routine accordingly, but other than that, the color makeup looks great. so we can get by. And with that, I'm gonna end this video here, so I hope you guys do take care, and I hope to catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye!